Jonathan Chandler coming to you from the Virginia School of Traditional Arts. I'm going to show you my anvil that we're going to restore. I had lots of footage of this, and of course lost about half of it. But I was going to show you this up close video of the anvil before we actually installed it, so you can see what we had to work with. And as you can see, it's got a pretty good divot in the middle of it. It's not crazy bad, and the edges are okay. But it's flat on like where around the hardy hole is, and then around the kind of the flat tapered end to the left. But it's got a pretty good divot right in the center, right in the heart of it.
I bought a pretty good anvil, so I'm not going to have to do a whole lot to it, but it does have a few issues. We're going to clean up the surface here. We're going to look at the edges, make sure that if we can clean those up, making them as the radiuses that we would like. I will tell you a secret. Our anvil, our stump is dead level as it can get. Our anvil, now that we've put it on top, is not quite level. So if I was going to do this again, I guess I would have to set the anvil on top of the stump, now, which would be problematic with this size anvil, but if you had one you could pick up and down, I would say put your anvil on your stump and level the top of your anvil. This one's not quite level. It's leaning that way slightly and leaning this way slightly, but I don't think it's going to be enough to make me redo it. So, you know, maybe from point to point, maybe 1/8 of an inch difference as far as not being perfectly level. But like it before when I had the two colors of paint, I'm out of that other color, but I'll put some black here in the deepest part where I know it's going to be the deepest, so we can watch it get together. Is my idea. And I've got this just a primer still. Put a piece of steel here. Make sure she's still got no. When I scrape it, sometimes paint gets on the edge, so I always check it and make sure it's off the edge. So we're going to start over here with the head bend. See what we got. Now I've noticed if we take the paint off while it's still wet, it's easy to get off my steel. We had been grinding pretty much this whole area, but if you can see right now, right there's a high spot, and the high spots are over here on this side and nothing on that side. A high spot right here on that, I told you I could feel a bump up here, so I knew that's where that was going to be. And we got some high spots here working this down this way and nothing up here. That's where what I expected. When we lower this end, it's going to start touching here and it'll start working. It'll work the middle faster is what I'm hoping. And this is already to its set depth, I hope, and we'll just have to work off this back side. And I'm using a flap disc. I've always been using a flap disc because I don't want to go too fast. I want this to go slow, take my time, get it as flat and as level, and don't get out of whack with it too much. You go getting a hard disc on this, I'm afraid you get out of whack on this pretty quickly. And so we're going to use our straight edge again. as you can tell, nothing up here now, so all this is lower. Right through here is a little high. Got a couple little spots right there. Right over here is a little high. It's starting to work back up this way, which is what I anticipated. When I lowered that side, this would stay low for a few minutes, and we bring it down.
All right, I've sped this up because this is what I've been doing for about 2 days at this point. And I've gotten it down probably a 1/16 of an inch, maybe 3/32 at this point. I'm getting pretty close to having.
All right, what we've got are called winding boards. These are not fancy ones. Some people make really fancy ones. These are just some that I whipped up. They're basically two boards of the same height and painted two different colors, contrasting colors. I didn't have any white. I'd like this board to have been white, but I didn't have any white. And then I've got a backboard here that's just a white piece of cardboard, just makes it shows up a lot easier. And what you do with these is I can feel across this anvil, and it feels tilted. It's not level by any means, and it's not level this way, but this side over here feels almost flat and almost level, but this side feels pretty tilted. And so what we're going to do with these winding boards is we're going to leave this one still, and we're going to slide this one forward, and we're going to look to see if it tilts. And the way you do that is you look across the top of these boards and you line up the edge of the board with your eye, and then you can see if there's any tilt in it. You'll see more black on this side than you do on this side. Right this second, we've got it sitting here, and it looks pretty level back to this point. And this is back on the original part of the anvil, or the part that we haven't ground on yet. And I've got this right across our hardy hole, which in the beginning was about the highest point. And so as we pull this back, we're going to pull it back to there and take a look at it. Let's see what that looks like. And see, you can see a little bit. If we go up and down here, I think we can get it. See right there, you can see it's high. The black is higher on the left. And so I'm going to pick you back up a little bit so we can see it. And we're going to slide it back on this way. And what I'm doing with the camera by picking it up and down is basically what you do with your eye. And you let it down. See, right about there. Still high on the left. And if we come all the way back here, still high on the left, but more high. So we need to take down this edge, I guess is what I'm getting to. We're going to have to take down that edge. From this end, we've took this gray board and we've went up and down here a couple of times looking at it. And this side all the way around here is high. All the way across here is high. And so what we're going to do is we're going to work on taking that side down some. All the paint off the anvil to do that. I didn't want the paint on there being, you know, fatter or thicker or thinner in one spot or the other, so I cleaned it all off. And you can see the top of this right here and to this way is what I've been grinding on. Here in the middle, it's not been ground at all, and it's still a little bit low. It's getting better, but it's still a little bit low. Before I got it all the way flat, I wanted to check that wind because I can feel it. I just can feel that it goes uphill right here. If you get in tune with your touch, I guess you can feel the change. You can't tell really how much, but you can definitely tell it's a change. On this side, it really doesn't feel like it changes. And when you put a level on this is nearly level. But this side, it does feel like we're going uphill. And so I'm going to take and put some marks on this, and I'm going to do about 2 inches here, right on this edge, all the way up on the horn here, and I'm going to cut that down some. And then we're going to go back to our winding stick and look at it again and we may have to fade that on out, but we'll cut this down some, maybe a 1/16 of an inch at least, and see what we got then. Just gonna put me a mark on here to keep me oriented to what I want. So I'm gonna try to focus my grinding in this area initially, and then we'll put the winding stick back on there and the level, and we'll see what we got. And once we get this side down a little bit, I think we'll wind less. You know, it won't be as high on that edge. And we may have to fade this in here a little bit, but we'll see. Just giving you a little update. See how wide my hand is. When I first started, I couldn't touch the clean part with my fingers spread, but now my hand is, you know, 4 inches or so, 5 inches maybe with my thumb. But I've been laying the level on it, and it's getting pretty close here in the middle. It's dives off on both sides, but right in the middle it's getting pretty darn close to being level. And so I'm gonna spray it one more time and scratch it, and I'm hoping to see some scratch marks here in the middle. I haven't seen them yet, but they're getting close. It's getting closer and closer. So we're gonna try it and see what we get. And I check my edge on this every time to make sure I don't have any like little extra paint or debris or anything on this edge, because we want this edge to be as straight as we can get it. Not quite yet, but we can see it's touching up here on the back and down this side a little bit, and right through here, right through there. So it's getting almost all the way across, and this is showing the line right here where it's hitting, and then almost all the way across over here there's little debris, little spots that are been bumped. And so they're good and flat with each other, left to right and this way. Just got to keep working it down, and we haven't quite got this to scratch here in the middle, I don't think, no, but we're getting really close, really close. And once I get it to touch here in the middle, I'm probably going to switch over and use my belt sander, because that way I'll keep it flatter. The angle grinder works faster, but you're leaving dish and dupes and dups. I've got a belt sander that'll go all the way across this thing, and so that will allow me to, it'll sand it slower, but it'll take the tops off of whatever's sticking up, and we can work on that faster. Once I get it to this level, I don't want to take it any farther than just what's here, pretty much. I just want it to be level so I can straighten stuff, you know, big knives or whatever I'm making. And this particular paint is probably better primer than I was using originally, and it kind of gums up my sanding disc. So what I've been doing is using an old sanding disc on one grinder and basically marking out where the highest points were. And what I'll do is I'll use this sanding disc, which is brand new or newer, and I'll go back over those places once or twice, and then I'll go and I'll do the whole surface, basically from the lowest point down here up to the highest point, and same this direction. And I'm trying to take down the whole surface as one layer, but what I'm doing is I'm hitting the high spots first, and then trying to take the whole layer off. once in a while I'll check it with my winding sticks just to see how I'm doing, and I'm not making it worse. That looks pretty good there. Yeah, that's looking pretty reasonable. Not perfect, but not off by much. And when we get our belt sander out, we'll put some more time into that winding and grind on one side a little more than the other. It's within that range now. It's not off by hardly anything. But we'll spray her one more time and see what we get. Now I've got a sander here, and I hope it's going to work today, because I was throwing my belts off before tearing them up, and I had some little debris down around this wheel, and it was tough to get in there and get that out, but I fiddled with it and got it out. I'm pretty sure my anvil is almost flat at this point. Not quite, but almost. And before I don't want to put dips and dobs in there. I've worked hard keeping it flat up to this point, and of course the swirl pattern on our grinder goes in a circle like this. Well, this will put streaks in it, so this will let you see whatever's high, and at the same time this is wide enough I can put it across here even at an angle, and I can use it to see where I'm at as far as what needs work by changing the angle. And I'll do it just like I was doing my grinder. Sometimes I stood on this side and ground, sometimes I stood on that side and ground, sometimes at this end, sometimes this end, moving myself around so that I'm not putting some kind of tilt in it by accident. And so we're gonna turn this jewel on and see what we got. I gotta get my ear protection on. By feeling that right in the center, of course, feels pretty darn flat, but we'll check it a little bit and see. I wasn't expecting to get these edges flat, but the center is what I was after. My white background and squatted down on this side and peeked under here to see what light I can see. If we hold it in the center is what I want. It's perfectly tight against this thing all the way from basically this mark right in here to about right in here. So about the width of my hand, you can see light under it still. Not a whole lot of light, but still can see some light. If we look at our scratch pattern here, we can still see some highs and lows. This side's better, there's a little low. But you can see some highs and lows still. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the grinder back across this section one more time. And probably going to leave this one alone. I might run it on there one more go. And then we'll come back with our belt sander and we'll knock those highs and lows down. And get all the highs and lows off, and I think by that point we're going to have it pretty darn close. It's pretty good right now. I can certainly straighten with it, but with that much. Most anvils aren't perfectly flat. Some of them brand new ones might be, but you beat on it a little while, it ain't perfectly flat. But we're going to grind on this thing a little bit more. And then what I'd like to get is, I don't have to have all these marks out, but I would like it to be dead flat. It doesn't have to be dead flat on the edges, but right here in the center, the sweet spot, I'd like it to be dead flat, so that I can straighten my material. But I think it's looking pretty darn good. I mean, looks really good, I think, for as rough of equipment as we've been using on it. Now, we've been using a flap disc, not as rough as we could have, but I wanted to go slow and be easy with it so we didn't screw it up. This is what we got. I'll put the level on here so you can see, but it's not level, but it is flat. I'm using the level as a straight edge, but it is dead flat right down the middle, and that's what I wanted. It rounds over here, especially in the middle. Back here and back here is perfectly flat and in the same plane. But here, I didn't keep going down. I'm gonna get you a close up, but you're gonna see right here in the center is some ding marks, to be expected on a 100-year-old anvil, probably 120-year-old. But I'm gonna put ding marks in it too. I miss once in a while as well, so that's not gonna bother me. But this is at 40 grit. All right, that's your close up. And like I said, it got a few ding marks in it, but not this perfectly usable anvil, even with those marks. Give you a little character in your work. But we've got some really nice edge right here. This is where I had to take down the most of the metal, so that edge came back basically to sharp. And then about a 1/4 inch radius here, and then as it goes in the middle, it's more and more. And then back over here to about 3/8. So the edges on this anvil are very usable. I got a few big nicks over here. I won't call them big, but plenty of usable edge on this. And I may work on the edges one day, but I think I'm happy with it for the moment. I want to use it. So we're going to get you down here where you can see how flat we have it. Right down there was where it was the deepest. And as you can see, we're flat. From one end to the other. And I've gotten down and looked at it pretty good, and I can't see any light under it at all. So, good enough for me. Just check this with our winding sticks here, and down this end it's just a little bit, ever so little bit crooked, but well within tolerance. I mean, it's not a 1/16 off. Don't look like. You get about here, she's perfectly flat at that point, no winding at all in it. I really want to appreciate y'all sticking with us on this video, as I know it's been a long one. It took me about a week to do this. I worked on it between 3 and 4 hours a day, and I usually broke that up into 2 times, about 1.5 hours at a time, or 2 hours at a time. You want to take your time with this. As y'all saw, I used a flap disc only on this, and that does take more time, but you're going slower, but you're not messing up fast, because you get a hard disc on this thing, you can mess it up pretty quickly. Get down too deep, and then you got extra work for yourself. And I just took it down to where it was flat. You could go ahead and take this whole surface down another 1/16 and probably get rid of almost all of those little bumps there if you wanted to, but I don't want to. Thank you for sticking around. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll catch you on the next one.